All right, so let's start with the big story that we're tracking on WION at this hour, where the Chinese President Xi Jinping has called for the comprehensive implementation of China's governance on Hong Kong as the Chinese Communist Party is celebrating its 100th anniversary since its foundation, which comes as Hong Kong is marking 24 years since its handover. The President Xi Jinping hailed the country's development, saying that the era of China being bullied and slaughtered is gone forever. Referring to the country's colonial past, he said that China being humiliated by global powers was in fact a thing of the past now. Notably, Xi Jinping also said that the principle of one country, two systems needs to be implemented at the earliest.
The Chinese people will never allow any foreign forces to bully, oppress or enslave us. Whoever wants to do so will surely face bloodshed in front of a great wall of steel built by more than 1.4 billion Chinese people. We must fully and accurately implement the principles of one country, two systems, Hong Kong people administering Hong Kong, Macau people administering Macau, and a high degree of autonomy. Implement the central government's comprehensive governance over Hong Kong and Macau special administrative regions. We must adhere to the legal system of the special administrative regions to safeguard national security.
Ironically, while Xi Jinping hailed China's rise to a global power from an oppressed colony, China's own crackdown of Hong Kong has intensified. The use of the controversial security law is on the rise. Several anti-government protesters have been charged for sedition under the law. And security has also been beefed up in Hong Kong to stop people from marking the handover anniversary. This even as thousands of people turned up for the CPC celebrations in Beijing. Hong Kong, a former British colony, remember, was handed over to China from the United Kingdom in 1997.
We found that in Hong Kong, national security is frequently being used as a pretext to curb voices of opposition. And the national security law itself has given the Hong Kong authorities very powerful tools by which they can curb freedom of expression and other human rights.
All right, now to give us more perspective in terms of how all of this, of course, is playing out, we are joined in by our correspondent Richard Kimber, who is joining us live from Hong Kong. Richard, thank you very much indeed for joining us on this broadcast on WION. So some pretty strong words there. One expected to hear something like this from Xi Jinping, where he said that any foreign power that would like to bully China would face a wall of steel. This was something that was expected on the anniversary of 100 years of the CCP.
That's right, strong rhetoric there from China, and similarly strong rhetoric here in Hong Kong, almost at the same time a couple of hours ago from the acting chief executive dismissing any suggestions that the national security legislation here, imposed of course by Beijing on Hong Kong, has done anything other than strengthen Hong Kong's prosperous future. Very similar type of language being used now in Hong Kong to that which is regularly used in Beijing with regards to these types of government statements. There's pressure here internationally on Hong Kong because this 100th year of the Chinese Communist Party celebrations is coinciding, of course, with the one-year anniversary of the highly controversial national security legislation here in Hong Kong. So many reasons for international attention on both Hong Kong and China, with the governments defending absolutely their stances in both cases.
You know, it's almost ironical when Xi Jinping says that China will not be bullied, but at the same time we look at what China is doing in Hong Kong, where people say that they would want more autonomy, they would want the one nation, two systems, way of governance to continue, but China is actually trying to stifle the autonomy of Hong Kong.
Well, the priority from the government's standpoint is simply to enact national security, and everything else is ultimately less important to them than that. So they use that as the justification for all of these policies. The international criticism, of course, is the way in which this security legislation has been used over the past 12 months. There is now, relative to just 1 year ago, almost no effective political opposition in the city. There is no effective anti-government or critical media operating in the city, and many examples on a daily basis are coming up even now, 1 year after the legislation was introduced, which make it very clear that Hong Kong is not the same as the city of 12 months ago. One telling sign, of course, is the fact that there is no rally taking place today in Hong Kong, as has traditionally taken place every year on July the 1st. It's very often been an opportunity for anybody with any frustrations towards government or frustrations towards Hong Kong's chances of having universal suffrage, that is full democracy in the city, to voice out their concerns. There is no such rally taking place today, and instead there are thousands of police on the streets ensuring that no gatherings take place. They say it's for COVID-19 reasons, but they've also said this time it's for public safety reasons because of concerns that rallies in the past, and we're talking now about 2019 with anti-government protest marches, could become violent. So a very different scene in Hong Kong today to that which we saw just a year ago. And even though there was a police ban, there were still rallies because people still then had the confidence that they do not have now to come out and defy police instructions.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for joining us and getting us all those updates there too. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.